But let's begin with the word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we come into your presence because we are concerned for our country, we love our country, and we have a firm reliance upon you. We know, Lord, that this country is here because of grace and mercy from you.
Would you guys all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I think we have half the town of Ainsworth here today. It's great to see everybody here.
Is a true leader. He gets things done, and he never backs down. We need someone in Washington who has that type of mentality and can be there for 8 years, not just 4. People don't understand exactly how big of a deal that is, because if you're there for 4 years, you're basically a lame duck from the beginning. We have to have that re-election to get him there for 8 years. I think it's so important that we think through that thing. And then also, when I think about COVID, and I watched as a governor, it was so difficult. And I know for a lot of leaders around the country how hard it was. We had a Republican administration, and Fauci was telling everybody to shut our schools, to mandating masks and vaccines and all that kind of stuff. And so as a governor, I was under tremendous pressure in Oklahoma. I can't even imagine the pressure in Florida, a much bigger state than mine, and what he was under. But here's the deal. We don't believe that you put the Constitution in the attic just because somebody in Washington, D.C. tells you to, right? And so I sued the federal government and said, we're not going to make our National Guard get vaccines. Those are personal choices. I was one of the few governors that refused to do a mask mandate statewide. Guess who the other governor was? Governor DeSantis.
Thank you. Merry Christmas. Thank you. Thanks so much. It's great to be back in Washington County. We have big Christmas plans. Anyone traveling? You staying home? What are you doing? I'm running for president because this country is in a state of decline. We're in jeopardy of turning over to our kids and grandkids in America less prosperous and less free than the one we inherited. And if we do that, we'll be the first generation of Americans since the American Revolution to turn over the country with less opportunity for our kids and grandkids. Americans have always been willing to do what they needed to do to sacrifice so that future generations can be free. I don't think, though, this decline is inevitable. I think it's a choice. It's a choice we as Americans get to make. It's a choice you as Iowans get to make on January 15th. The bureaucracy ate his lunch for 4 years, and it culminated in Anthony Fauci running the country in 2020 during COVID to disastrous consequence and disastrous effects. And I don't think, some people like a Haley, she wouldn't even try to change anything. I mean, she would be a potted plant. So so we know who the change agent is, and it's me. And I've shown an ability to do it.
What's your stance, plan, or approach to make sure the U.S. stays the leader of the free world for the decade?
And your name is?
Nathan Langholz.
All right, good question, Nathan. So I think China's our top threat. I think if you don't successfully navigate the China threat, I don't think the other issues are even going to matter as much. I think if you successfully navigate the China threat, I think everything else is manageable. And how do you navigate and that part of that is because, China is the top benefactor for Russia. China is a big benefactor for Iran, who's feeding the money into Hezbollah and Hamas and causing all the problems in the Middle East. So how do you do China? One, we need more hard power in the Indo-Pacific. You need to deny China's ability to take Taiwan, deny their ability to break out of the first island chain where they would then be able to dominate global commerce. And that's going to require more naval power, and it'll require an investment, but we can do it. Second, we have to protect our economy from China's leverage. We should be independent from China, particularly on the key things that matter. When COVID hit, all the medical was from China. You couldn't get anything anywhere else. It was crazy. That's been a big mistake. to let those supply chains migrate to China like has happened. It's been a big mistake to let key industries go over there. So we're going to have to do tax regulatory policy to be able to incentivize and bring back to the United States. But I do not think it's healthy for our country to be dependent economically on China for really key things. I mean, there's different things like, I get frustrated with, because it's Christmas time, you know, we'll get the kids these toys, right? And some of them require like a lot of assembly. So I'm in like, the instructions will be like 2-point font, and it's like not even very good stuff. We banned China from buying land in the state of Florida. I don't want them owning farmland. I don't want them owning land near military bases or critical infrastructure. We shouldn't have that anywhere in the country. We kicked out the Confucius Institutes from our universities. They should be gone everywhere. China should not be able to pour money into American universities to exert influence. Right. So understanding the role they play here domestically in exerting influence over our society and culture is important, and we need to reverse that. So I think if you do all those three things, and then we're in an economic competition, we've got to do better here with our budget, with our growth and everything, and that's a whole separate discussion, but that will impact how we are vis-a-vis China. If we're strong here, we're going to be stronger there. China, you know, they've got a lot of problems. They're not some type of unstoppable juggernaut. I mean, they've got major debt problems. They've got major demographic problems. I mean, they imposed a one-child policy, forcible a one-child policy, so their demographics are out of whack. They have tens of millions of more males than females, because what they would do if a family had a girl, a lot of times they would abort the girl to try to get a boy, and that happened a lot. So they're going to that's going to be a big problem over the next years. And then the dissent within China. You know, Xi is ruling with an iron fist. He even did COVID lockdowns in January of 2023. There was pushback to that. Because it was ridiculous that you'd be locking down in January 2023. But there was pushback to that. So he wants to exert control, but the more he does that, that's going to cause some problems. Our economy's not going to be as good. It will likely increase dissension in the society. So they've got a lot of issues they've got to work through. So we're strong here at home. If we do what we need to do militarily, if we're smarter about how we interact with them economically, we're going to be in really, really good shape. You know, in the Middle East, I've got a lot of experience there, not just from serving in Iraq, but I was on House Foreign Affairs in the U.S. Congress for 6 years. So I was on Middle East, I was the National Security Chairman, so I did a lot of stuff in that area. I mean, I've been calling to defund the Gaza stuff for years, because of course it's going to Hamas. We need to turn the screws on Iran financially. They should not be getting us windfall of money from oil sales or any of this other stuff. We actually did a special session of the Florida legislature last month, and we expanded our state-based Iran sanctions. Because those sanctions, we're one state of 50, but we'd be the 13th largest economy in the world if we were a separate country, so it's not for nothing. We don't want money going into the regime's coffers. They are going to turn that around and foment terrorism. That is why they're in power. This is what they believe. We're 40 years, this year was the 40th anniversary of the bombing of the Marine Corps barracks in Beirut, Lebanon. Killed over 240 Americans, and it was the deadliest attack against Marines since Iwo Jima. And that was orchestrated and funded by the Iranians through Hezbollah. When I was serving in Iraq, Iran was the #1 source of American combat deaths. They killed over 1,000 of our troops during the Iraq conflict. So they are mortal enemies of this country. The idea that you give them massive sanction relief in the hope that you're going to get a deal with them, any deal that is going to be good for America, they are not going to want. They want to see America ended. That's their ideological objective. Obviously, they want death to Israel as well. So we just got to be smart about dealing with the Iranians because they're a disaster. I do think, not right now because of what's going on with Hamas, but I do think you can probably end up getting a peace agreement between Israel and Saudi Arabia. And if that's the case, Israel would have peace agreements with Egypt, Jordan, Saudi, Bahrain, United Arab Emirates, and that's a much different picture than where we were 25 years ago. And that would be really good, I think, for Israel's security. You already can fly across Saudi Arabia now from Tel Aviv, which you used to not be able to use Saudi airspace. So there has been some liberalization. I think with the Hamas thing, it's probably not the right time for Saudi. They're probably not going to be willing to do it right now. This should have been done years ago. I think the next president will be able to get that done. But that will really help. What we want in the Middle East is we want the U.S., Israel, and the Sunni Arab states to be aligned against the Iranians. And it's in their interest to be aligned with Israel and us, because they understand the threat posed by Iran.
Post 9/11 Iraq veteran like yourself, I think the idea that you just described to us about the portal is awesome. I think that it helped veterans out tremendously. My question's about college education, because I used my GI Bill after I got out. I actually went to a Jesuit school, thinking that, okay, well, I knew there'd be a left-wing slant. Maybe at a Jesuit school I'd be safe. It's in every single class. Doesn't matter what. I didn't take gender studies, but it's in every single class. Doesn't matter what you take. You're going to learn about intersectional feminism. You're going to learn about gender ideology. And on top of that, and I don't know if it's still going on under Biden, but you have that Title IX thing hanging over your head that if I look at somebody the wrong way, I'm going to go into the kangaroo court, and next thing you know, I'm going to get kicked out of college. Didn't happen to me, luckily, but. So my question to you is there any saving our college institutions? Is it possible?
Well, it's a great question. I mean, I think everybody has known there have been issues for a long time. The extent of some of the sickness and rot in the aftermath of the attacks on Israel have been really, really eye-opening for a lot of people. And so this is what is being inculcated in these students. And look, the purpose of higher education is the pursuit of truth. It's promoting academic rigor. It is preparing students to be citizens of this republic. It is not to impose an ideological agenda on the students. It is not about indoctrination of the students. And so if you have these universities that are not willing to abide by the classical mission of a university, why should your tax dollars be funding these universities? And in Florida, what we said is, look, our tax dollars are funding the universities, the public universities. Now, federal tax dollars go to all these universities, and we're going to be willing to take that back from a lot of them. But what we said in Florida was just simply, okay, the mission needs to be reflective of what the people want to see out of their higher education system. It's not your little plaything to just engage in left-wing activism. And so we wanted to see a classical mission for the university. So we've done things like all tenured professors must undergo review every 5 years and can be let go for poor performance. So Florida, some of our colleges have a process of professors out. The media complains about it. They say, oh, well, professors are fleeing Florida. It's a brain drain. I'm going to say, wait a minute. If Marxist professors are leaving Florida, that is good for Florida. That is not bad for Florida. Let's just be clear. We also eliminated the so-called DEI from our public universities, and I know Governor Stitt has done that, or just did an order in Oklahoma. But they say it's diversity, equity, inclusion, but in reality, it's an ideological agenda that's being imposed under the guise of DE&I. And really how it's practiced, DEI stands for Discrimination, Exclusion, and Indoctrination. Right. And that has no place in our public universities. And so we're promoting merit on it, treat people as individuals, because basically DEI, it's major discrimination against Asian Americans and discrimination against white Americans. That's what it is. And the way you stop discrimination on the basis of race is to actually stop discriminating on the basis of race. So they just want a different type of discrimination, and they think that somehow that's okay. I think we should have no discrimination, and so that's what we're doing. But I think that whole DE&I, it's not just some administrative office, that permeates everything that goes on. So that shouldn't be in the universities, it shouldn't be in corporate America, it shouldn't be in any of these institutions like the military. We got to be merit-based, and that's what we will do. I will use, I don't think that these universities are entitled to federal funding. I think if they're not pursuing a mission, if they can't even protect the safety of Jewish students that are running for their lives because you have some crazed mob going after them, you go $100,000 in debt and you get an engineering degree at MIT, you're going to be good. You're going to be okay. But if you go $100,000 in debt and end up with a degree in zombie studies, you're going to end up in a job you could have out of high school. So how do you deal with that? How do you align those incentives? Not to have the taxpayers pick up the bill. That will exacerbate the perverse incentive. They embrace, no problem, right? But if these folks can't pay back their loans, then that these programs at 4-year, but there's also a lot that's been total dead weight. And so featuring base better here, part of that goes into that is that you have the workforce that has the skills necessary.
Well, the dismantling of Roe v. Wade was amazing and wonderful to see that happen. But when that happened, one of the concerns that I have, it seems like the conservatives really did not have a plan in place to control and direct not just the narrative, but something that would provide productive, healthy alternatives for women instead of thinking that the abortion bill was going to be the place to go. What is your plan to not only deal with the narrative, but also put things in place all the way to adoptive care and reducing some of the restrictions there?
Well, no, I think that's great. I think that's aptly put. I think it was the Dobbs came down and people were just like, okay, yeah, what are we supposed to do? People were running around with like chickens with their head cut off, and the left, obviously, you know, they're exploiting it as best they can. But so in Florida, you know, we really put an emphasis on adoption, on foster care, on assisting mothers. So the whole care portal idea is really about, you know, a mother comes in with a baby and needs help. We want the churches to spring into action, volunteers, charities, all this stuff. And it's made a difference. When they get into those relationships, they don't go back for government assistance. We did in Florida, I made all baby items tax-free permanently. Diapers, wipes, strollers, for everything is tax-free. You know, that makes a difference when you're talking about that. So we do have a responsibility to ensure that these young kids, these babies, have a chance to do well. And we've done that in Florida. We obviously want to be helpful working with states and local governments to be able to say that, you know, pro-life is for the whole life. You know, it's not just for up until birth, and we need to do that. I would note that, you know, if you look at Donald Trump, what he's doing in terms of attacking right-to-lifers is really, I think, stunning. And I don't know how much play it gets because I think there's a lot of media on the conservative side that just never want to do anything that could be critical of him. But you know, he's attacked the heartbeat bill in Iowa, like Iowa has. He says that's a terrible, terrible thing. And, you know, he spoke at the March for Life in January of 2020. And if you read that speech or watch that speech, he said that life was a gift from God, that unborn are made in the image of God. He talked about the aspirations to have protections and all that. I mean, like, so you read that, that audience was definitely appreciative of what he said. How do you go from that to now attacking a state from enacting protections for a heartbeat?
Shameful.
And so what's happening is the left is weaponizing Trump's comments against the pro-life community. They're saying Donald Trump is saying that you guys are extreme, that this is bad. And so he's given them a gift that they are going to use. Anytime these initiatives and these referendums come up in states, they're going to advertise that. They're going to target that, and they're going to be able to use that to win some of these battles. There's no question. So his view from where it was in January 2020 till now is much different. Was he not sincere in January of 2020? Was he just reading off the teleprompter then? He didn't really mean it? Or has he flipped his position because maybe he thinks there's a political benefit to what he's doing? I don't know how you can just flip on something that's fundamental, but that's what he's done, and he's provided a lot of aid and comfort to people who are not supportive of the right to life. And so I think in this caucus, that's a live issue of somebody who, I mean, look, you know, to denigrate people. I mean, like, there's different people at different what's the strategy going forward? And there's different people of good faith that have different views on that. And it's not even clear necessarily what would be the most effective. I think that there's room for debate. But to attack a state, to attack protections affirmatively, and saying that that's a terrible, terrible thing. I mean, that you cannot call yourself pro-life at that point. So very disappointing to see, but that's the record, and that's just the results. I've said from the beginning, I just don't think the American people will elect Trump again. I think that's the Democrats want that matchup for a reason. But let's just say I'm wrong. Certainly, if he were to get in, he would not be dependable on a lot of the issues that conservatives have cared about. I think he's gonna go his own way on Second Amendment, on all these other things. That's just the nature of it. And for me, I think it's more principle based than it is about trying to position yourself or trying to get short-term political benefit. All right, so I'm going to have to leave in a sec, but I just want to ask everyone for your support on January 15th. We have the ability to sign commit to caucus cards. If you're willing to, if you haven't done it yet, please do it. And please be advocates for us. Please talk to your friends, families, neighbors. Everyone just brings an extra person. We are going to win, no question. I mean, that's just the reality. And you will be making a big statement in this country. And the one thing is, the media has their preset narrative. They know what they want, but they're not going to be able to deny these results if we all do our part. So thank you for your support. Merry Christmas and God bless.
Could you sign in?
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for spending so much time in Iowa. Trying, yeah. Having fun.
Thank you, Governor. Can I get something?
Thank you.
Good luck, Father.
Yeah, how you doing, Mr. President? Nice to see you. Thanks for coming. Good. Now you live here too?
Generating some sound bites that we get played, because that's not a lot of people that can actually watch it.
Governor, thank you. Were those some undecided, you think?
There was a bunch. They travel all over the country. And I just wanted to make sure that you got them.
Yeah.
So,
Thank you.
thank you. Take care. Hey, it's warm now.